I believe Headquarters is the best Notion template for productivity. This is the full Headquarters setup video. If you're looking for simply the Notion template tour, then it's linked down below. If you're looking for a walkthrough of a specific part, then there are timestamps below. So after downloading, this is what you will have. So everything here is blank. You won't have any tasks in here. You won't have any tasks in here. You won't have any projects. And you will have these life buckets here. These are the default ones. And then here are our workspaces. So typically what I've seen people do is often they remove this logo, this banner at the top. I totally get it, no hate there. So at the top here, we have the quick buttons. I put these at the top because you want quick access to them. So most likely when you're working throughout your day, you'll have Headquarters open and maybe Notion Calendar if you use that. So in order to remove context switching, the idea here is you can click on these buttons here to add tasks, to add a quick task. So basically that's just a task with the label of it being a quick task, so a 5-minute task. A do now task, which just means that the Eisenhower matrix here, it is an important task and an urgent task. So it will have that automatically labeled. Then we have a quick note. So this is how you can take a note. We can add a resource, and we have the routine button, which I'll dive into later. So at the top here, we have the quick buttons. Then underneath this, we have our day-to-day. So here we will see everything that is on our task list for the day. So if you add anything into the calendar or anything in here with today being the date, whatever today is for you, then that will appear here. So the idea here when I was designing it is you can quickly add tasks, notes, and resources, and you can see your day at a glance and you can see your week at a glance. Then this tab here is today's context. So basically it's still showing you your day, all of the tasks that you have labeled for today, but it's just breaking it down by the bucket. Here we can time block, so I'll say 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. So instead of time blocking, which is what we're doing here and planning out our day based on time, what you can do is work with context. So task 1 and task 2, we could say the different context that it is relating to. So this here I could say is to do with my job, and then this here I could say is to do with just life admin, let's say. And then let's just add another task here, task 3. And then let's make this job as well to be nice and simple. So instead of planning out my day like this, and let's just say I do it like this, so I do 6 a.m. So instead of going 6 a.m. task 3 to do with job, and then 7 a.m. task 1 to do with life admin, and then 8 a.m. task 2 to do with my job. What we're doing here is context switching, going from job to admin and then admin to job again. So to remove that context switch, instead of time blocking like this, we could use the tab here, today's context, and then I could say, okay, I'm going to now do everything today to do with my job, regardless of if it has any time associated with it. So we're just working based on that. And these tabs here are automatically being changed every day. So there is a filter here with the rule being show me where the start date is today. So this will automatically update every single day, which is really useful. Okay, then we have your week view. We have your all this week, and we have my month. So the week's tasks here is, I'll just show you the filters. We just have a filter here where the task is unchecked. So you're only going to see the tasks here that you haven't done yet. So ideally, you won't have anything in the past. So today is Tuesday the 24th as I'm recording this. You ideally won't have anything in the past. However, in all this week, you can see everything even if it's uncompleted. Hence it is all this week. And obviously you can use these arrows to go back and forth. And if you ever go very far away, you can just click on the today button and then you come back to it. And because it's Notion, you can of course just drag this. And as you can see, it will impact this here. So task 1 got removed from my day today. And if I drag it back here, you can see task 1 reappears. And then under my month here, we can see your tasks as well. One question I've gotten a few times is just how do I change what I'm seeing here? So sometimes I want to see some of this stuff in my month view, but also my week's view. How do I change that? Well, what we can do is click on these 3 dots here and click on properties. And here it's saying, what do you want to show? So the way I've designed this is to show the state and the project. So let's just fill this out. I'll just say urgency, urgent, important, important, state, flow, project, presentation. Click on new, click away. So here you can see task 3, flow and presentation. This is the information that I personally think makes most sense to see under the My Month view. But of course, if you want to change this, you can click on properties here and then say, let's say you want to see the urgency. You can click on this eyeball here, and now you can see urgent underneath. So you can customize this however you want. Anything you change in here is only being changed for you. It's obviously not changing the actual headquarters template. And another thing, I will not be able to make any changes or updates to your dashboard once you've downloaded it. This is another question I've gotten. So if you accidentally delete this, for example, I cannot go in and help you and re-add this because it is on yours. Just like if you were to download a Word document, for example, and then make some changes to it, of course, I cannot, in my end, go and update your Word document because it's on your computer, it's on your account. So Notion works the same. So anything you're changing in here is changing on your account. And then under the week's tasks, it works the same on these three dots here on properties. Right now we have the state and the project. The reason that I have the state and the project here is because it allows us to plan a really balanced week where we can be the most productive. So here I can see flow, and basically if you are a fan of this channel and you've seen multiple videos, you know that I have a rule where I can only have 2 flow tasks per day. That is the way that I work. A person can only really concentrate for 4 hours per day, and a flow task is about at minimum 2 hours in order to really get into flow state and do a lot of cognitive work. Hence I have the rule 2 flow state tasks per day. So if I can see too many flow tasks in here, like this, I can see 3, I'm going to think, you know what? That's probably going to be unachievable, and I might have to plan out my week a bit differently and start dragging these items to different days. It just allows me to plan a week that's actually realistic to my energy instead of, what most of us do, including me, when we sit down and we think, okay, I'm going to plan out my week, and we just fill our week with like 100 different tasks on day one. And we're like, yeah, I've got a lot of energy right now as I'm planning, and I bet I'll have that tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and you don't have any of that energy. So we are just going to be a bit realistic here. 2 flow state tasks per day at most. And it's useful here just to show the project, just so we know what is this task to do with, because ideally we want to be working on important projects. So let's scroll down here and get to the next one. Here we have the order tab. So if you're reasonably new to Notion, just to explain tabs quickly, all of these here are part of the same database. So quick and order is actually the same information, but what we're doing is using filters, sorting, and we're using groups in order to hide and show specific information, which is really useful because then we don't need to have 15,000 different databases because that would get really overwhelming. So I'll just explain these different tabs here. On the order tab here on your task list, this is basically sorting out, here I'll just show you the sort, by urgency and importance. So I'll just fill these out like this. So if you don't know, this is inspired by the Eisenhower matrix. I believe it is one of the best productivity tools in terms of organizing your task list. So under the order tab, it is doing this automatically for us. So as you can see, important urgent comes up first. It's at the top of this list here. Then we have not important but urgent. So basically we are valuing urgency as more important than the importance. Now, if you think I care more about the importance of a task than the urgency, you can actually change this by clicking on the sort. Then here where it says importance ascending, you can actually drag this up. Now, as you can see, it changed the order here. Personally, I do believe urgency is more important than the importance, so I will keep it as this. So with that ranking here, we have the important, urgent, not important, urgent, important, not urgent, not important, not urgent. So this is automatically ranked for me. So if I add a new item here, task 8, and let's just say that this is also important and urgent, as you can see, it automatically jumped up the queue here and we have task 8. And because I designed headquarters to use as few databases as possible, if you change anything here, it changes up here and vice versa. If I tick this off here, task 4, check. If I scroll down, you can see task 4 is now gone. So under the order tab, we are only seeing stuff that hasn't been completed, and it's automatically ordering it by the importance and the urgency. Under the quick, we are only seeing tasks that are labeled with the quick state. So the states here are flow, quick, easy, and personal. Flow is this flow state tasks. It involves a lot of cognitive work. You really have to be concentrating. We have quick, which is like a 5-minute task. We have easy, which is shallow work. It doesn't involve a lot of concentration. Often it's kind of admin tasks. And then we have personal. This is just nothing to do with work. It's just purely personal stuff. And because this tab here has a filter that says where the state is quick, If I add anything under this tab here, it will automatically assign it as quick. And this idea is the same for the flow. You only have stuff that is a flow task. Easy, you only have stuff that is an easy task. And under personal, you only have personal tasks. So the reason I've done this is actually to make planning even easier for you. If you're sitting here on the Tuesday, let's say, and you've done task 5 and you've done task 1 here, and you're thinking, okay, I have like 15 minutes, I guess I could do something. I don't know what to do. You just scroll down here and click on the quick tab, and you know, here are all the stuff that I have. That's about 15 5-minute, 10-minute tasks. So you don't have to sort through your entire to-do list. You just know under this tab, you're going to see all of the stuff that you can do in that time. Or if you have a lot of energy and you're thinking, you know what, I'm really ready to sink my teeth into a project, you'll click on the flow tab and here see everything that involves a flow state of mind, really full concentration. Same thing for easy and personal. If you're thinking, I want to do something fun today, just something for myself, you'll click on the personal tab and you might have a bunch of ideas here. All right, then here under low, we have stuff that is purely not urgent and not important. So ideally, you actually ignore these, but it might be good to go back and check sometimes. In the Eisenhower framework, not urgent, not important gets deleted, but because we are using databases, I think why not just keep it here under the low priority, just so we have it here in case. Then under the no date, like it sounds like, this is only the stuff that doesn't have a date associated with it. So let's just add task 8 to today, 24th. As you can see, it gets removed from here. So there is a filter here saying, it's a simple filter where the date is empty. So we're only seeing stuff here that doesn't have a date associated with it. So this is really useful for the people who are really big into time blocking. So if you like planning out your entire week, you can go under the no date tab here and see all of the tasks that don't have a date associated with them, meaning you haven't actually dragged them to a specific day. And let's say I want to do this task here. I should add a name to it, task 9. That is sitting here and it gets removed from here. Then task by bucket, what it's doing is breaking down these tasks by which bucket they are relating to. So just like we did up here under today's context, we're doing the same thing here. So this is task by bucket. All of these tasks here don't have a bucket associated with them. Now, if we want to add a bucket to them, we simply click here. Let's just say job for task 8. And then I scroll down and I can see task 8 here under job. And because Notion has toggles, we can simply close and open these so we can find whatever we want to when we are looking for it. So if I only want to see job stuff, then I can see that here. And then lastly, we have everything, which is absolutely every single task you've done. I thought it would be good just to have a tab in case you ever want to search for a task that you've done or you feel like something got lost. Under the everything tab, you will find everything. And a quick tip, if you want to search through this, because you might have literally 300 tasks, if you want to search through this, you can click on the search here and literally search by the name. So let's say, oh, I know I called it task 9, then I can do that and look at that task 9 is coming up. Obviously, you probably will not be calling these task 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but this is just a tutorial. All right, let's jump into projects. So under projects here, we have the uncompleted projects, which just like it sounds like are the projects that haven't been completed. This has 4 groups to it. So we're seeing the ones that have a deadline, the ones that you have labeled as a favorite, and the ones that are ongoing projects. And then under the no status here, we have presentation that we created before. So let's click on presentation. As you can see, it automatically adds all of this for me. So what I've done here is create a template called new project. So when you create a new project, it will automatically add all of this information. So here you can see all of the tasks, all of the notes, and all of the bottlenecks. This will automatically only be the stuff relating to new project. And of course, you can change this to, let's say, report. So if I scroll up and add task 8 to the report, so I'll click here, you can see report is now there. If I scroll down and click on report, you can now see task 8 sitting in here. So it's showing me all of this information. Now, a common question that I've gotten to do with projects is how do I change this template here? Well, we can do this on the side. If you click on the down arrow, and then here where we have new project as the default, we can click on the 3 dots and click on edit. So you might want to remove this line, for example. So you would just select it, delete it, and now when we click away, this will impact anytime you create a new project. So if I click on new here, and now as you can see, that line is gone here. You might have some ongoing projects, so projects that don't really end. Favorites for me are the ones that I'm actively doing right now. So ones that I'm currently working on. The way that I like working with this is having all of my projects under no status. And then when I'm ready to work on it, then I change this from no status. So let's take this presentation and change the status to fave. So a favorite. And this here, the faves, these are the ones that I'm actively working on. And I try not to have too many because it's just overwhelming and you spread yourself too thin and you're not actually being productive. The ones with deadline up here, that means they have a deadline associated with it. So I'll click here and just say the 26th, and I can see that now here. So that's quite useful. All right, so that's the uncompleted projects. Then on the overdue tab, I can see all of the projects that are past the deadline. So let's just keep this as new project. And let's say the date is the 22nd. As you can see, it's showing up here because it is overdue. It was due 2 days ago. Hopefully you won't have too many under this tab. Then we have project by bucket. And just like it sounds like, this is telling us what bucket it belongs under. So the life buckets are the ones down here that we have. So journal, admin, fitness, business, relationships. And of course you can add to this. So these here, new project, let's change this to sales script. And then life bucket here, let's say that this is my job. As you can see, it jumps to job here. Same thing with report. Let's change this to job. So you can see they're jumping under the relevant bucket. Now I recommend labeling the buckets that these projects associate with because we will be able to see these projects under the relevant bucket. So just as an example, if I click now on job and scroll down, you can actually see now the sales script and the report sitting under my job page here, which is really, really useful to see. So I recommend adding a bucket to each project. Then under the favorites tab, we are obviously only seeing the stuff that has been labeled as a favorite. Under the finished, we are seeing everything that is completed or has moved the needle. Under archived, everything that has been labeled as archived. And under all projects, we can see every single project that you've ever done, just so you have a place for it as well. Now you can see template here. This is for the people who are watching my very first tutorial on how to use headquarters. So I have kept this here just in case anyone's seeing that, but I did update the template very soon after launch. You actually don't need this template here. It is automatically templatized here now, which has made it a lot simpler. But that is sitting here under my projects. And we have the same thing here under my life buckets. You can see this template here. If you didn't watch the very first tutorial, download headquarters on the first day, then you will not need this. So you can also delete this here. And instead we are using this system here, the templates with a new bucket. All right, that is how the projects work. Then down here we have workspaces. So here we have your quick notes, we have your resources, we have your personal, your timetable, your ideal schedule, move the needle, time tracking, habit tracker, open loops, bottlenecks, mobile HQ, and topics. All right, let's dive through each of these. The quick notes is where you will see every single note that you have taken. So let's scroll back up to where we have the quick notes button, which is here. If I click on this, I can now take a note. So I'll just say blah. And I can say the life bucket that it is to do with. So let's make this simple and just do job for this as well. Under projects, let's say this is to do with the report. And I can even say a topic of interest. And we have a default template here as well. So we'll say this is to do with sales, just as an example. So I'll click on new topic here. So that is now a topic of interest that I have. And here I can take my note, blah, 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 blah. Very good. And now when I click away, I've taken that note. So that's why we have these quick buttons at the top here. I don't get distracted. I can just take that note and then forget about it and know that it's gone into all of the places that I need. And one of those places is this quick notes page. So when I click on here, I can see blah sitting here, and it's to do with my job and it's to do with the report. And if I click on open here, I can see this specific note, blah, blah, blah. So most likely you won't be using this quick notes page that much. This is really just if you want to see every single note you've taken. You probably won't use this page too much. By the way, with notes, you can also archive them, which means they get removed from this list here and get added to the archived list. All right, resources. They are kind of similar to notes, but they work slightly differently. The main difference is that notes will appear on your projects. So if I just click on the presentation here, you can see that we have notes here. We do not have resources. I've talked to a few people about this. The main reason is purely for productivity. I found that if you have, when you sit down to do a project, every single resource that you could ever think of that is kind of to do with that project, you will get extremely distracted. And I really wanted to make headquarters a place where you can focus and actually be productive, not pretend to be productive. And I found that having all of your resources constantly staring at you every time you're trying to work wasn't actually helping. So when you need to see your resources, you'll click in here on resources, and we can open this up full screen. And here we can see it broken down by books, courses, podcasts/videos, coaching, articles, newsletters, posts, files, and by topic. And they're even divided by if you're currently consuming it, if you finished it, or if it's something you want. I don't know how many in this list. It is a long list, but it's really useful to see. And of course, you can take notes in here. So let's say that this is a book. So I have that default template in here. We have the type of book, the status is currently reading, and let's say that this book is called the blah book. And I can add all of the relevant stuff that I need, such as the creator, when I finished it, add a URL, more useful for videos, podcasts, courses, etc. And I can even review it. So let's say the blah book was a 5-star. And topic of interest, let's say that that is to do with sales as well, just to make it simple. And of course, you can take any notes in here, blah, blah, blah. And this is really useful to have when you're reading a book. If you want, you can have this page open. So you can take notes as you're reading, meaning you're not taking some notes on the book, you're not taking some notes in a document file, you're not taking some notes on a piece of paper. And the same idea for a course. For example, my course, and you're thinking, hey, I want to take some notes whilst I'm watching this. Then you'll write the course name, Productive with Notion, and then here you can take all your notes. I should be productive. My course is more useful than that. But yeah, so that is how the resources page works. And just like we can take a quick note up here, we can add a resource from up here so we don't get distracted. When you're talking to someone and they say, hey, you should read this book or you should take this course, you just click on that button and it's been added to that page. You didn't have to scroll down and then go to that page and then look at all your other resources and get distracted. We're removing context switching by doing that. All right, under personal, this is as it sounds. Here you are just going to see in your calendar everything that you've done that has been labeled as a personal task. The reason I've done this is most likely a lot of you, like me, are workaholics and will not schedule in time for personal stuff. So I thought it could be good to have a page here where you can see every single time you've done something that is to do with your personal life, whatever that may be, you can see that in here. Then here we have the timetable. So this is mainly for students, but here you can fill out your timetable. And if you click here, this here is linking to a project. So it's linking to my project. So if you have a class, let's say marketing, you can write marketing here and add new. Or obviously, if you already have marketing as a project, you can just click here and then add marketing, and you can plan out your week in here. So as you're going throughout your day, when it's 9 a.m. Monday and you're in marketing, you can just click here and it will literally open up marketing. It's really useful. Everything is connected. Again, I really tried to design headquarters in a way where everything is connected and speaking to each other, and you're avoiding context switching, you're avoiding getting distracted, and you're finding everything where you need to find it. Then we have the ideal schedule. Now, this works quite differently. If you're into productivity, which I presume you are, the ideal schedule is a famous technique where basically you design your ideal week. So you know, this is what I want my week to look like. So you have something to kind of work towards. This database is connected to this database. The reason that is because most likely the projects and stuff you're working on right now is most likely not your ideal schedule. It might be, if so, congratulations, but most likely it's not. So what you'll do is add in all of your ideal activities, all of the stuff that you wish you were doing. So, you know, let's just say, oh, I wish I was hiking. So if that's something you wish you could do every single week, you'll fill in all of these here, and you can click on new and add even more. And then you'll design your ideal timetable. So we'll say every Monday at 10 a.m. I wish I was hiking. So I'll click there and add hiking. And you can start planning out what you want it to look like. This is a really useful exercise, and I thought it was important to add into headquarters. All right, we then have moved the needle and time tracking. I'm going to skip over these now and do a deep dive into them a bit later on. We then have the habit tracker. Now the habit tracker is going to show us every time that we've done a habit. So what I'm going to do is scroll up here and add some. I was showing you before the tasks, but I never added a habit. So if I click on add an item, and I can change the urgency here to habit. So that could be something like running, for example. Let's say I run every single week or whatever, and that is a habit of mine. I will label that as habit. So now if I scroll down and go to habit tracker, I can see the habit here of running. So this page here is useful for two main reasons. A, tracking it, and B, planning it. So let's just say I plan out my week like this. and I'll just put some in the past as well. And let's say I ran on all of those days. And obviously these won't be checked in because I haven't run in the future yet. So here I can see the plan that I have. I've planned out my habits. And then if I want to track my habits, I can click on the habit count month. So I can see I have run 3 times, which is quite useful to see. And if I track the minutes as well, let's just say I went for an hour run each time, which by the way, I cannot do that. Then I can see here some 180 minutes of running in total, which is very useful to have a place for it. And I can also see habits broken down by bucket. So none of these have a bucket associated with them, but of course we can add that. So let's say the bucket here is fitness for all of these, then running appears here under fitness. Now again, these habits here are the same database as our tasks. So if I go back here, we can see under my month here, we can see my running and running here in the future and running here and running. We are not having habits as a separate database. That's super annoying and it's not useful. I want to be able to see running here as a task because my habit here is a task. Habits are just tasks. So I want to see that in my actual to-do list and my calendar. 99% of Notion dashboards separate habits from tasks and all of this stuff. And they do that mainly to fluff out the template, to make it larger and to make it look more impressive, but it's not very useful to you as a user. We just want everything in the same database. But just because it's in the same database doesn't mean we can't separate that stuff so we can see here just the stuff to do with habits. Really, really useful. Okay, open loops. This page here, you might not use it that much, but I thought it was useful to add. You might have heard of the idea of open loops before. It's basically stuff that you have not finished yet. So that's kind of the stuff that will sit in the back of your mind. So if you're ever stressed and you're thinking, oh, I feel like I have so much going on, I don't know what to do, I don't know what's happening, you can open up this open loops page and here you can see all of your unfinished projects. So most likely that's where you're going to be feeling a lot of stress. It's from the stuff that you haven't finished yet. And you can also see all your unfinished tasks. So this is purely the stuff that you haven't completed yet, because most likely this is where you're going to get a lot of stress from. So if you open this up at the end of your workday, for example, or at the end of your work week, let's say it's Friday and you think, oh, I want to enjoy the weekend, but your brain feels really scattered, you can open up this open loops page and you can just go through all of these projects. Sales script, you know what? I don't have to stress about that. This report, I don't have to stress about that. These tasks here, you know what? They're all fine. Nothing here is a priority. I can enjoy my weekend. It's a really useful exercise to do if you want to be able to switch off your brain. Okay, bottlenecks. So as you can see here, we have a template. Now you can just click on new and we can click on this template here. A bottleneck, if you don't know, is kind of a business term, which basically means a point in the process where the flow of work or whatever it is becomes delayed or breaks. So basically it's just an issue stopping you from making more progress, put more simply. And this doesn't have to be about business. This can be anything. So let's just say we're trying to lose weight. I'm trying to lose weight right now. And my problem here is binge eating. This is a bottleneck right now. My related project here will be healthy eating. So I'll make a new project here called healthy eating. And then what I'll do here under projects tasks, I'll change the filter here where the project contains, and now I'll select whatever project it is. So you might have multiple projects. So you could add another one here being like running a marathon or doing weight training, whatever it is. You might have multiple projects this relates to. So you'll add the project here that it contains. So this here, binge eating, is to do with healthy eating, like I said. So now here, I'm going to see all of the tasks to do with healthy eating. Now, the way that I like to work with bottlenecks is first journaling. So before I start tackling this problem, I want to just write about it. So in the evening, I like to eat chips and burger. Okay, so I've done the first step, which is journaling. Now what I want to do is figure out how do I fix this bottleneck? So I understand what the problem is. In the evening, I like to eat chips and a burger. Now what I'll do is create tasks that fix that. Well, maybe I'm eating chips and burgers because it's really convenient. I'm really tired and I can just put this in the air fryer. Cool. Well, maybe a way to overcome this bottleneck would be for me to batch cook on Sundays. There we go. So now I am actually trying to fix this problem, this bottleneck. And that's why I like to do it this way. We just journal. I mean, you don't have to be fancy with it. You're just writing your thoughts down and then you're picking up on the clues from this. So, oh, you know what? I'm really tired in the evening, so I'm just quite lazy and then put chips and burger in the air fryer. Cool. Well, maybe if I batch cook, then I won't have to have chips every single night. So I find this really, really useful. And then we can even add a date to this. So this batch cook on Sunday, you know what? Let's just put this straight onto Sunday. So now I've not only journaled and created a task for myself, I've literally scheduled it. So if we scroll up now and click on next week, we can see here on Sunday, batch cook on Sundays. I can see that task for myself. And I've found this to be really, really useful. Bottleneck analysis for not only business stuff, but absolutely everything. And right now it's a priority, but we can change this to a small problem. Or let's say that, you know what, we have now resolved it. I can click on resolved and it's gone here. And because we have a template here, you can delete this depending on when you downloaded it. Then here we have mobile HQ. I recommend if you can on your phone, add this page here as a widget to your phone. So on iPhones and Androids, you can add widgets or you can add specific Notion pages to your phone. I recommend having this as the default page. I tried to make this as simple as possible. On your phone, you're probably not going to be doing really complex planning and deep work, but you do want to have a space where you can do the important stuff, such as quickly creating tasks, quickly adding notes, adding resources, and seeing your task list for the day. So the task list here, as you can see, looks quite different. We're actually seeing this as a gallery instead. So in Notion, we can view information in different views. So I've got the layout here as gallery instead of a table. And that's because on the phone, a table is just a lot more annoying to work with than seeing a gallery like this. Then underneath that, we have all of your projects because of course, when you're on the go, you still want to be able to see all of your uncompleted projects. So you have that here for quick access. And then we have topics and we can see sales that we created before. So all of your topics will show up in here. All right, I'll get to the move the needle and time tracking later, just because they are more complex, but they are really, really useful. So I don't want to skim through them. So let's talk about life buckets. So this is the overarching areas in your life. So under journal here, you could see all of your journal entries, which I'll get to. You could see all of the tasks you completed this week, and you can also see all of the habits you've done this month. So I can see you running and running. So it's a good place where you have quick access to your journal entries, broken down by the day ones, the weekly ones, and the monthly ones, because they are slightly different. By the way, if you haven't seen with Headquarters, you get a bonus of my favorite daily journaling prompts. So the weekly journaling prompts and monthly, they are different to the daily ones. Daily ones are less about actual planning and they're more about just daily reflections. So they are very different questions to weekly and monthly, and they are included in a separate document. I recommend checking that out. All right, admin, fitness, business, relationships, family and friends, they're all structured the same. So on admin, for example, we can see all of your tasks related to the bucket. So the bucket being admin in this instance. So first we're seeing all of the relevant tasks. Then we're seeing all of the relevant notes. Then we're seeing all of the relevant projects. So all of this is showing up for these buckets. So this is really useful for, again, context switching. So if you're like, cool, I'm going to think about my fitness journey right now. If you click on fitness, you'll see all of the tasks relating to this bucket. And there's a simple filter here saying where the bucket is fitness and the tasks are incomplete. So you'll see them here. You'll see all of the notes that you're taking about fitness, and you'll see all of the different projects that you have to do with fitness. So let's say you're running a marathon, you'll add that here under the life bucket of fitness. And let's say the deadline is next week on the 30th. I've now created that project in fitness here. You can also see it sitting here under fave marathon. Everything is connected. It's all speaking together. So that's how they work. And then job is slightly different. I wanted job to be almost like a mini template in itself. So we actually have your day broken down like this, so you can time block your day. Because when you're at work, you might not want to see everything else in your life, or maybe the people sitting around you, you don't want them to see everything else in your life. So if you have job open, you're only seeing stuff to do with your job. So you can time block your day here. Again, you're only seeing stuff that is to do with your job. So you're only time blocking your actual work day here. Then on your week, you're seeing all of your uncompleted tasks. Here you can see all of the tasks this week, even if they've been completed. And then here you can see your month. Then down here, we have all of your uncompleted work jobs. And then here we have every single task to do with your job. So there's a simple filter here saying, just show me stuff that is to do with job. And again, this is all built into Headquarters, so you don't actually have to go in and make any of these setting changes. This is all working on download, if that wasn't obvious. And then here we have all of your current work projects, and under done, we have all the stuff that's been completed or moved the needle or archived. And then lastly, here we have your quick notes. These are all the notes that you've taken specifically to do with work. Now, I do not recommend sharing this page with someone else. So if you click on share up here, you could share this with someone else. But the way that Notion works is they would be able to see everything in your database here. And that's not just your work database, but your entire Notion account with everything in this database. Because remember, this is all of your work tasks, personal tasks, habits, etc. So if you are looking for a Notion template for your job where everyone is seeing what everyone else is doing, then I recommend using CoLab, which is my team's template. But if you don't need to see what everyone else is doing and they don't need to see what you're doing, then I recommend using this dashboard. It will help you out a lot at work. All right, let's jump into the move the needle and time tracking, the two features that I've probably gotten the most amount of emails about, just saying that they love these features. So let's talk about the move the needle feature first. I absolutely love this, and it comes down to dynamic journaling. So let's talk about journaling here. Under your tasks tab here, we can see these habits, which I'll talk about. They are to do with the routine button. So I'll talk about them last. And then we have the journal entry, weekly review, and monthly review. So let's talk about the weekly and monthly. Now these work the same, so I'll just do a weekly review. So this weekly review, what I'll do is say the date as today, and then automatically it has added the urgency of habit. So doing a weekly review is a habit, so it's automatically added that. Automatically said it's not important, and it said that this is a quick task. Of course, you can change this setting if you want. You can just click here and under weekly review, click on these three dots, click on edit, and you can change, you know what, I don't want this to be labeled as not important. I want this as important, if that is something that you want to change. If not, we'll just keep it like that. So we have quick, automatically adds under the bucket of journal. Here are the questions that I think are the most impactful for your weekly review. So I'll open this up full screen. Looking at my task list completed this week, do I feel like I have accomplished enough? What were my biggest distractions this week? What did I do this week that helped me move the needle? Change these items' importance to move the needle if they have had a big impact on your life. So these two here are just like normal journaling. So you would just write blah, blah, blah. But this one here is what I call dynamic journaling. And I haven't seen this anywhere else, hence a lot of people are a fan of it. What you can do here is literally look at the stuff that you've completed this week. And by the way, this is updated every single week, so it will automatically show you the past 7 days. And what I'll do is go through these and say, which one of these were actually moving the needle? So if you don't know, move the needle basically means had a big impact on my life. It had a big impact on my productivity, in my work, on my business, in my relationship, whatever it is, that big impact is moving the needle. So let's just say hypothetically task 7 had a really big impact. What I'll do now is change the importance here from important to move the needle. So I'll do that. And as you can see, it gets removed from this list. And we can find all of these needles this week on that move the needles page that I was showing you before. I cannot recommend this enough. Sit down once per week or once per month and just go through all of the tasks that you've completed and say which tasks here are actually moving the needle. When I started doing this, I had barely any tasks actually being labeled as move the needle. It was quite sad, to be honest, but it's a really useful exercise because over the coming months, I was picking up on these patterns. Every time I did this kind of task, it was a waste of time. Every time I worked on this kind of project, it was a waste of time. So I knew where I should be focusing my effort. And that's why we're doing this. We're starting to pick up on patterns to know what is the stuff that I do? What are the tasks that I'm doing that's actually moving the needle? That's actually having a big impact. So I really recommend that exercise. Then here we have looking at my habits this week. Do I feel like I did enough? So I went running today and I did not go running any other times this week. So that is not very good. I'm not happy with that. So then I could journal about that. I could say, you know what? I'm not happy with my week's habits. Maybe next week I should go running in the morning instead as I have more energy. Cool. So now I have journaled based on data, not just randomly journaling and writing stuff, but we're actually using our habits and using our task list to properly reflect on our week. And then of course here we can add a bottleneck as I showed before, really useful to do. So the weekly review is very similar to the monthly review. Obviously in the monthly review, you are seeing the entire month's tasks, not just the weeks. So I recommend doing that as well, just in case there's any tasks here that you missed that might have moved the needle. Now, if you want to see all of those stuff that you've done that's moved the needle, that's what this page is for. So you'll click here and you can see here task 7 moved the needle. And you can also see all of the projects that have moved the needle. So most of the time, it's not just tasks, but it can be just singular tasks that have a really big impact, but also the projects that move the needle. So here we can see all of my different projects. And let's just say updating this sales script was really impactful on my job and it helped a lot. Well, I can change it from a deadline to move the needle. So then I can find it under this tab here. This page here is one of the most important things that you can do for your productivity. If you go in here, this will tell you all of the tasks that you are doing that is actually helping you out and actually making you productive. And it's telling you all of the projects that you've done that you think move the needle. This is the hub of productivity for you. And you can only really get this information by properly journaling, by doing dynamic journaling. And that's why everyone keeps emailing me being like, this move the needle feature is so awesome, blah, blah, blah. By the way, if you have a cool story or case study, I would genuinely love to hear it. Please email me. And then lastly, here we have time tracking. Now there are two ways to time track in Notion. I'm going to show you the built-in version, the default version, but I also have a separate video showing you how to do it with Notion Calendar. But I didn't want to presume that everyone's going to be using Notion Calendar, so I have the default version built in instead. So as you are going throughout your day, you can time track directly in here. Now remember, this is for you. This is just for you. So there is no need to lie in here and say, you know what, oh, this took me 90 minutes, even though it took 60. Just be honest with yourself, because this information, unless you're posting this online, this is just for you. Or unless you tell your boss, hey, I'm actually secretly time tracking myself every single day at work. Maybe don't do that unless you're okay with them seeing this. But this here is just for you. And this time tracking feature has genuinely changed my life forever. And I've had friends do this and it's changed their lives as well. I cannot recommend this enough. So every single day as you're working and you're ticking off these tasks, let's just check all of these in. And I'll just add in some projects here. Okay, I've just added in some random projects and minutes here. So this is my day today, and I've been time tracking as I've done the tasks. So you just manually write that in here. What we're going to do now is scroll down and click on time tracking, and I'll open this up. This here will have such a big impact if you genuinely do this and stick to it. Under time on buckets, I can see how much time I have spent on each bucket of my life. So in job here, I can see I have spent 6.17 hours on my job so far, which is 370 minutes. Under fitness, I can see 180 minutes, which is 3 hours. Under admin, I can see 60 minutes. This is breaking all of this up. But I really find the big value under the month. So here, months buckets and month projects. As it sounds like, we are seeing the past month. And by clicking on here and going through this, you will know where your time is going. I really find the big value under month projects here, knowing, okay, I've spent 160 minutes on this presentation. I've spent 270 minutes on this report. Knowing that, knowing where my actual time is going is life-changing. What I've done now for almost a year is go through every single month and know where my time is going. How much am I spending on each bucket and what projects am I actually spending my time on? Because the time you spend on projects will dictate your productivity. So hypothetically, let's say this report is a big waste of time, but you've spent 4.5 hours on it. But let's say this presentation is really important and will provide a lot of value, and you've only spent 3 hours on it, then you can see here with concrete data that you are using your time on the wrong project. It is so useful to see this and really reflect on it. If you just time track for 1 month and go through the projects and the buckets and know how much time you spend on them, it will be the most useful productivity hack that you have ever done. All right, the last thing to go through here is the routine button. By default, if you click on the routine, you can see habit 1, 2, and 3. These are just default created. So what I'll do here is create the habits that I want every single week. So I'm actually going to click to next week here. And you know what? I will just delete these so we can see a blank week. Make this really simple for us. So what I like to do with this routine button is have all of the tasks that I like to do on a week-by-week basis. So let's say batch cook on Sunday. I'm going to do batch cook. The urgency here is honestly not urgent. It's not that important. The state is personal. The bucket is fitness. And the project here was healthy eating. So now that I have this task, I can click away. And let's just do one more to make this simple. We'll do running. The urgency here is a habit. The importance here is honestly not important. The state of mind is personal. The bucket here is also fitness. And the project is a marathon. Okay, cool. So we have my second task that I do every single week. What we're going to do here is click on this gear icon next to the routine. And then you can see these tasks here. And what we'll do is click on these 3 dots here and do delete, and we'll delete, and we will delete. Now what we're going to do is drag these into this button here. Now I'll show you how to fix this common issue. If you can't drag items into this here, it is because it is in a column. So to fix this, we'll just drag it out of the column first, and then click on the gear icon here. And now I will drag batch cook and I will drag that here. So insert blocks, I'll add it there. And then running, I will add that here, drop it in there. And then I'll click on done. Now I'll put this routine button back here by dragging it there. And when I see this blue line, I can drop it. So now it's back at the top here. So now if I click on the routine button, the batch cooking and running gets added. So now I can drag these and put them into my week. So I'll say batch cook and running on Tuesday or whenever I want to put it. And all of these settings here are already set up. So the routine here is just planning the routine that you do every single week. Or if you don't have a weekly list, you might have a daily routine. So you can add all of that here. So walk the dog, etc. You'll put that here on the routine. So every day you'll just click on that button and then drag these into your day. So that is how the routine button works. All right, lastly, I've had a few people email me and say when they click on the plus here, they don't see this list here as I show in my template tour video. And I'll show you how to fix that. It's a 2-click fix. What you're going to do is click on the down arrow here, and we are going to change it from new page as the default to empty as the default. So click on set as default here. For all views in my task list, click there. And now when you click on the plus, you can see all of these show up. So that's just a quick fix if you are seeing that. Not all of you have that issue. I've had a few people email me and that's how to fix it. If you've gotten to the end here, I would really appreciate a 5-star review. It really helps me out a lot. I hope this was a useful walkthrough and I wish you the best on your productivity journey.